In my past life, I was the youngest star surgeon in Seattle. I had everything, until I made the mistake of trying to save my fiancé from her male bestie. When he was diagnosed with a deadly, contagious illness, I warned her out of love. In return, she branded me a quack, destroyed my career through a massive smear campaign, and eventually, the two of them set my house on fire. I died screaming in the flames while they watched and laughed. Now, I have opened my eyes to find myself back in the ER on the day that man was admitted. Looking at the positive medical report in my hand and my fiancé's demanding face, I smile. This time, I will respect their pure friendship and stay perfectly silent. Let them have each other, and everything that comes with it. The Seattle rain never seemed to stop. I stood in the emergency room of Swedish Medical Center, clutching a lab report. The edges of the paper were cold and damp, just like my heart. "What's wrong with Jace? Say something, Silas." Brianna's voice exploded in my ear. She was wearing expensive Lululemon yoga gear. Her hair was a mess, and her eyes were red from crying. She shoved my shoulder hard. I looked up from the report and stared at her face. This face was once the most beautiful thing in my life, but in my deepest memories, the last time I saw it, it was twisted in a demonic grin as I burned to ash. "Silas Thorne, are you deaf?" Brianna screamed again. I took a deep breath of the air that smelled like bleach and medicine. I knew then I had been reborn. I was back to the afternoon before everything went to hell. Brianna's best friend, Jace Sterling, had been brought into the ER after a car accident. As his attending physician, I hadn't just treated his scratches. I had discovered a terrifying secret. He was HIV positive, and the virus was already active. In my last life, I told Brianna because I loved her and worried for her safety. The result? She slapped me in front of everyone. She called me a jealous creep for slandering her best friend. She used her family's influence in Seattle to end my career forever. "Speak! He was just in a car crash. Why are you running all these extra tests?" Brianna glared at the report in my hand, her eyes full of suspicion. "Are you just looking for an excuse to keep me away from him?" I looked at her, feeling absolutely nothing. Their pure friendship meant they were inseparable. Even though we were engaged, she would spend late nights at Jace's apartment, helping him mix cocktails. "He's fine, Brianna," I said calmly, flipping the report over. "Just some superficial wounds. No internal bleeding or brain damage. He just needs to stay in the ward for a few days for observation." Brianna frowned, trying to snatch the report from my hand. I stepped aside and slid the paper into the shredder. "This is patient privacy. By law, I cannot show it to you." "Even though I'm your fiancé?" She scoffed. "Even if you were his mother. It's HIPAA, honey." My tone was professional and empty. Brianna blinked. The old Silas would have spent an hour apologizing and comforting her, but the new Silas only wanted to get away from this mess. "Fine, as long as he's okay." She turned and ran toward the observation room. I watched her eager back, a cold smile touching my lips. "Since you love him so much, go ahead and experience everything he has to offer." My colleague, Dr. Miller, walked over. He looked at Brianna, and then at me. "Thorne, didn't you tell your girlfriend about Jace's status?" He lowered his voice, sounding worried. "He's positive, and his CD4 count is dangerously low. Is she his legal next of kin?" I asked without expression. Miller shook his head. "No, just a friend." "Then the law says I cannot disclose his infectious status to her," I answered robotically. Miller looked surprised. "But she's your fiancée." "She won't be for long," I said, turning toward the locker room. Back in my office, I opened my personal laptop. I started drafting my resignation letter. At the same time, I contacted a real estate agent. I didn't want to spend another day in my East Side villa overlooking Lake Washington. I had worked so hard to buy that house. In my past life, it became my tomb. Brianna and Jace poured gasoline all over my living room because I interfered. "Hey Silas,